Hey, what is up YouTube? This is the Merman Master coming at you guys from Team Time Riders YouTube channel today with a very special deck profile for you all. Today's deck profile is an update of a deck that I have not updated for an extremely long time. Be aware that this video is going to be long. For those of you who've been following a long time, you know exactly what this deck is. It's gone through a ton of iterations. It's one of my favorite decks of all time and still the only deck that I've created entirely from scratch. What you're going to be looking at is an entirely first edition secret rare deck that abides by 3 rules. The card must be secret rare, it must be first edition if able, and secret rare first edition must be the max rarity of that card. Basically, those are the restrictions, and so no things like pot of dualities or torrential tributes, or things that have higher rarities in different, like, you know, higher value cards in like different rarities and stuff. Secret rare is the way to go. And I put the focus on cards that are not run a lot, and somehow assembled this deck, and out of, like, you know, the random secret rares that I collected that I had laying around. And when I say that this thing works quite well, it actually does. So enough of me talking, guys. Let's get into the profile. So to start things out right now, the only 3 of card I have in the deck are 3 copies of Medion the Time Lord, one of my all-time favorite Yu-Gi-Oh cards of all time. Medion the Time Lord is... it does everything. It cannot be destroyed by battle or card effect, and you take no battle damage from battles involving this card. And then, when it attacks or is attacked, at the end of that battle phase, you can bounce every other monster on the field back to the hand and inflict 300 points of damage to your opponent for each one bounced. This is non-targeting, non-destruction removal. Extremely good, and the fact that it shuffles back to your deck makes it that much better. You know, you can just keep recurring these Metions for as long as you have them, and they are just an amazing resource for you.
That card actually sees some side deck play depending on the format and what the best deck is.
Oh, it absolutely does. And yeah, more decks are coming out that, you know, challenge it. But let's be real, like, this is super casual strategy, and, you know, we have a lot of fun. Next is Fire Hand and Ice Hand. Those who already know, you know, these are the cards that everyone uses. Fire Hand pops a monster specials an Ice Hand. Ice Hand pops a monster specials a Fire Hand. Kind of like Sun Dragon Inti and Moon Dragon Quilla, but a million times better. Now, on for the one-ofs, guys. This is kind of like a very Highlander deck, so I organized the cards.
It's like a GOAT deck.
And I'm going to explain by, like, each card what it is. So first is, you know, my ultimate stun cards here. We've got 1 copy of Inspector Board and 1 copy of Fossil Dyna.
I fucking hate these cards.
Oh, so true. Fossil Dyna and Inspector Border. So Inspector Border basically shuts down monster effects if there's no other type of monster, such as Fusion, Synchro, XYZ, Pendulum, Link, and Ritual. And what it does, like, if there's none of them on the field, it, you know, does that effect. But this deck likes to assemble big boards a lot of the time. So running more than 1 Inspector Border, I found, can prove actually quite troublesome, especially if you have a big board setup. Fossil Dyna Pachycephalo is in here because, you know, your opponent special summons a lot. You can set this card, and you have enough spell and trap cards to stop your opponent, and then flip it up and pop all their special summon monsters, or just normal summon this first turn and get that. And I actually see these surprisingly fair amount for only running 1 of each, but I feel like it's weird for me to say this, but 1 of each actually works quite well, and I think that the deck would become less consistent if I were to run more copies of each card. They have very specific times you can summon them, and summoning a Fossil Dyna anytime past, like, first turn or whatever, can be troublesome. Next card I'm running, Tardy Orc. Good anytime, 2200 monster that you can just keep on the field. I've always wanted to put Tardy Orc in a deck. This is an ultimate chance that I didn't want to pass up. And Konami had that joke, which was, why was there no Orcs in Order of Chaos, which had the set name ORCS, and it's because Tardy Orc missed the bus. Very cool card, and it's also level 4 Fiend, which is very useful for me to explain later.
Synergy.
Breaker the Magical Warrior. So, pretty self-explanatory. Goes up to 1900, pops that spell or trap. Very good card. Nice for that version. Now we're running Dark Grepher. We've got a lot of stuff in here. Dark Grepher is great for, like, tribute summons and stuff like that. I believe he's at 1 now, right?
Yeah, he is.
He is at 1, so we got to run 1. We can't run any more than 1, but that's okay because Dark Grepher does his job at 1. You don't really use his effect to ditch a dark to send a dark because there's not many things that are good in the graveyard. This is a very tribute, like, stun focus kind of deck, so Dark Grepher's in here to become tribute fodder for things by using.
He's a free body on board.
Now, a card that I've wanted to run for a very, very long time, Card Guard. Run this card, guys, especially in decks like this. You know, this is a deck that makes a card like Card Guard shine. Basically, the guard counter, it's kind of like Breaker, has the guard counter. You can take that guard counter and place it on any face-up card you control, including spells or traps. It makes that card indestructible once by battle or card effect by detaching that guard counter. So really, really good for protecting like things like Clear World and other cards like that might need this counter. Next card, Aaron the Lightsworn Monk.
I used to have this in my old Lightsworn deck as a first ed secret.
It's a very, very good card. And Aaron the Lightsworn Monk is super useful because your opponent might set lots of defense position cards or special summon certain things in defense mode and just like create big boosted boards up with a lot of these things. And Aaron the Lightsworn Monk automatically shuffles back anything in defense mode, and I don't believe that Aaron targets, so it's good. And then it has a nice maintenance cost to send things to the graveyard, which is useful in its own way. Now, on to one of my favorite new additions to this deck. One copy of Abyssal King Shark.
Wait,
I
what?
call this card the Mirror Force Killer because it has one of the most odd effects in the entire game. It was a Tactical Evolution World Premiere Secret Rare. I believe it's TCG exclusive. Basically, its effect is once per turn, if this card would be destroyed by an effect that does not target it, it is not destroyed. So things like a Mirror Force, Dark Hole, Raigeki, Torrential Tribute, they try to destroy this card, they will not be able to. However, a card effect that does target would be. I always run into Mirror Forces a lot during casual play. Abyssal King Shark eats that shit for breakfast. Super cool card. And not to mention the casual, like the secret rare version of this card looks so incredible, guys. I love the way that this
Mind if
card
I
looks.
show it the camera?
Yeah, please. It's not a card that a lot of people would ever consider running, but
Oh, that is beautiful.
I just think it's one of the coolest looking cards around, and I love having it in here. Now, one of the most awesome cards is Hardened Armed Dragon. The cool thing is that this deck makes all of these like really so-called crappy cards see play and actually be good. Hardened Armed Dragon is fantastic for a combo that I'm going to show you, but it basically makes any level 7 or higher tribute summon monster unaffected by destruction effects of your opponent's cards, and so it helps to keep them safe. Or it cannot be destroyed by card effects, so it helps to keep them safe and indestructible. So that's ends up being really good for all of the plays that you want to do in the future. Next card, so I'll go into a little bit more about that. Stygian Street Patrol.
Ooh.
Very amazing card.
Back in the Infernity days.
Yes, sir, and still really good now. Stygian Street Patrol, as you guys notice, I have a lot of level 4 Fiend-type monsters in this deck. Stygian Street Patrol allows you to special summon things like that and Card Guard. And possibly even this next card if you really wanted to. Skullmeister, hand trap card that negates graveyard effects. But this is really great for getting tribute monsters on the field. Speaking of getting that to the graveyard, I have a copy of Mathematician in here. Mathematician is Mathman is self-explanatory. Get that stuff done. Moving on to more level 3s, we have Injection Fairy Lily. She's great for beating over stuff, and this deck does kind of die to Gravity Bind. A very weird card. Old card, I noticed that. You know, it can beat all sorts of other crazy strategies, but heaven forbid Gravity Bind, Injection Fairy Lily gets you around that and F's your opponent up big time. Wins you games. Now, on to one of my personal favorite cards, Card Blocker. Really wanted to make this card work, and super happy to. This card plus, like, this card has just won me several games because it keeps monsters on the field that I want to stay when my opponent is attacking to them. Card Blocker is a card that basically allows you to redirect any attack that your opponent declares to this card. And every single time they attack in, you can mill from anywhere from 1 to 3 cards. And Card Blocker will gain 500 times that amount of defense points. So you keep just doing that. And one of my best plays is summoning Fossil Dyna and getting out Card Blocker. Card Blocker will redirect any attack, boost up to 1900 defense, which is usually enough to stop whatever your opponent has that they can do by normal summon, and buy you an extra turn to make more plays. So I actually locked down a Red Eyes player and a Blue Eyes player by using a card blocker Fossil Dyna combo, which was insane.
And me a few times.
Yes, you have been locked down by the combo.
Yes, I have. Fuck that combo. Fuck that combo.
It is surprisingly potent, and card blocker puts in the gosh dang work.
Fuck
guys.
this card.
It puts in the freaking work all day, man. Like, it's so good. It's so good. Like, it just proves if you find a way to use a card correctly, it can just work wonders for you. It actually won me a couple of games at batters, believe it or not. I was running this card, and I stopped.
Very competitive locals for those of you who don't know.
But funny thing about this card as well is one of my favorite combos in the deck is to use Pinpoint Guard. Special summon this from the graveyard. That turn it cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects and can redirect every attack to it.
God damn it.
Yeah, Mirror Force is like a million times better, but like, who are we without our crazy combos? Now, another new card that I'm running in the deck, also level 3, one copy of Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood. This card I'm super excited to have in this deck because the main idea behind it is that you ditch it from your hand to the graveyard, and anytime your opponent special summons, you gain that much life points equal to the attack points of the monster they special summons. The idea is if your opponent's trying to assemble a big ass link board, you're gaining and gaining and gaining life points to protect yourself. And this is a deck that excels at the long game. You know, the longer you have and the more time you have to set up an unbreakable board, the better it is. And Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood, I believe, is able to help that strategy to sort of mature and to give you a little bit more time to stop your opponent's plays.
I want to pick up a set of these for, like, if I ever get back into competitive Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah. I think it's going to be a really, really good card, and I'm super excited about it. I'll also probably try and put it in my Mermail deck.
It's like a Maxi, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Except, like, way worse.
It's a fair version of Maxi. Like, Maxi is a fair card that cannot exist because decks have evolved. This card's kind of like the same general idea where it punishes your opponent from overextending. So I think it's
like
fair in
Exciton.
that way, yeah.
Those kind of cards.
Next card, Wind Up Rabbit. Run this card in here for its dodge effect, and it's really great for just being able to be a tribute summonable monster to keep it on board to summon like a level 6 or something like that. So very, very good. Now moving on to the level 2. One level 2 in here, card.
Vroom, vroom.
Vroom, vroom, vroom. That's right. Draw 2 cards at the end phase, and finally a level 1. Mech Lord Emperor Steel.
Oh my god, you have summoned this against me so many times.
I used this one time to steal somebody's Borreload Savage Dragon. Oh my god. Yeah, technically this is the worst one, but it's a secret rare first edition, and you can search this off of Vampire Dragon. You can search this off of like any other cards, and it's wild. It's
synergy.
So it's really, really good in the right circumstances. Comes to the field whenever your opponent pops any one of your monsters, which is quite often. And can just either be an extra body for defense or an extra body for attack. The stealing synchros doesn't happen too often, but when it does, it's great. How many minutes am I at?
13.
Cool. All right, now moving on to the next level of cards. We have the level 6s. So, or level 5/level 6s. So, as I discussed before, you remember this. Vampire Dragon, tribute summon monster, that when it gets sent to the graveyard, you can add any level 4 or lower monster from your deck to your hand, which searches like 3/4 of your monsters in your deck.
I'm pretty sure people were pissed off to pull this out of their extreme victory boxes over tour guide.
I can't even imagine how pissed off people could be. But this is the thing. So making a deck out of the secret rares that people were pissed off to pull, and then using those.
This is literally like a secret rare back in the day. They just give it to you, like, here, just fucking take it.
Yeah, awful secret rare. But like, I found great use in this card, and people get troublesome off of the things that I can search. Like, I've searched Inspector Border and Fossil Dino with this card, and it's just, you can do some crazy crap with it. Do note, though, it can miss timing, which is quite unfortunate, but that's okay. Next card we're running for our level 5s is one copy of Dragon Ice. Anytime your opponent special summons a monster, you can discard this card to the graveyard and target itself in the graveyard, or discard a card and then target this card in the graveyard and special summon it to the field in attack or defense mode. Not even a once per turn ability, as long as your opponent just keeps special summoning and you have one of these in your graveyard, keep special summoning it to the field. Do note, though, that Dragon Ice discards for cost and then targets the monster in the graveyard, so you can discard Dragon Ice itself for its own cost to special itself back out. So that's really, really cool. Was going to be a card that Mermail players were considering, but...
Call by the Grave says hi.
Yeah. Call by the Grave kind of F's that over. And the last level 5 is, I think my personal favorite of the level 5s is Dark General Freed, and he basically prevents all your dark monsters from being targeted by spell cards. Lots of opponents don't realize, they think that Dark General Freed protects only himself, but no, he protects all dark monsters you control, and you will control quite a lot of dark monsters over the course of the game. You can also search any level 4 dark monster out of your deck instead of conducting your draw phase. So I've used his effect to search like Skullmeister to act as a hand trap, or to grab Breaker the Magical Warrior directly out of the deck to act as spell and trap removal. So don't sleep on Dark General Freed, because while he was one of the worst secrets to pull out of Light of Destruction, he certainly pulls his weight here. Now, the level 6s, guys. The 2 level 6s, MVPs of the level 6s here, Majesty's Fiend and the End of Anubis. Majesty's Fiend, you know, negates monster effects, pretty self-explanatory, and End of Anubis. Special shout-outs to this card, though, because it's like a Necro Valley on crack. Basically, any effects that activate in the graveyard or that target cards in the graveyard, whether spells, traps, or monsters, are automatically negated. So you have a field of this with like Majesty's Fiend, or with like any you know, Fossil Diner or something like that, and your opponent is pretty much locked out of the game. You got some nice spell or trap support right there to bolster your field up, and there's very little they can do. Extremely, extremely good combos. And finally, the card that inspired me to build this deck. 1 copy of Dark Red Enchanter. Very, very rare and hard to find Phantom Darkness secret rare. This card is actually pretty damn amazing in the right circumstances. It's a spell counter generator. Comes to the field. It cannot be special summoned. Comes to the field. Put 2 spell counters on it. Every time you activate a spell, put another spell counter on, and it gains 300 attack for every spell counter on it. So I've gotten this up to 3,100. Then you, once per turn, you ditch 2 spell counters to make your opponent discard a random card from their hand. So this actually comes in quite in handy, especially when your opponent is, you know, extended on a big board and you just want to discard their last card. Now, level 7s, guys. A lot of self-explanatory stuff in here. 1 Cerebus, Ancient the Ascended. Good, really, really good hand trap to protect against targeting. 1 Gores actually comes quite in handy as well. Special summoning itself when you take monster or effect damage. And finally, also a hand trap, Puppet King. Whenever you...
Wait, this is a hand trap?
Yes, it is. When your opponent would add a monster from to their hand anywhere, except by drawing, you special summon this card to the field, and if you do, during the next turn's end phase, you must destroy it. But it's a 2,800 beater, and if your opponent's adding random crap like they do in Burning Abyss, for instance, you wanna you know, do that. Now, finally onto the level 8s. Starting out for level 8s here, guys, we have Invader of Darkness. You want to summon this card to prevent your opponent from activating quick play spell cards. Belial the Marquis of Darkness, and finally, the only Omega you should run, Fiendish Engine Omega. Now, remember how I explained about Hardened Armed Dragon earlier? Hardened Armed Dragon makes these guys impervious. Invader of Darkness is, you know, kind of, you know, he doesn't really benefit from that, but Belial and Fiendish Engine Omega do to different degrees. See, Belial, you must attack only him, and you can only target him for spell and trap effects. So as long as he's out, the rest of your monsters are protected. Most targeting spell and trap cards these days also destroy. So if you summon this guy with a Hardened Armed Dragon, he becomes indestructible by card effects. He must be attacked, and no spell and traps. And with that 2,800 attack power, it's, you know, you can do some crazy stuff. And Fiendish Engine Omega protects itself as well, because it's got a really, really cool effect. Once per turn, you can have this card gain 1,000 attack, but it is destroyed during the end phase, kind of like Karate Man in a way, and then special summons you tokens during the end phase. When, so this is my second favorite combo. When this is tribute summoned using Hardened Armed Dragon, Fiendish Engine Omega can gain that 1,000 attack and not be destroyed during the end phase, and can keep gaining and gaining and gaining attack power. I've gotten this thing up to like 6,800 before, just by that effect. And you can keep special summoning tokens you can then use to tribute summon other monsters. Bolster that with Stormy Mirror Force or like a Magic Cylinder or something, and you have like a field that just keeps getting bigger and bigger every single turn. So that's the level 8s. And final level 8, Pretty self-explanatory. You guys know it. Chaos Emperor Dragon, Envoy of the End. We have
The
both...
card that single-handedly created the ban list.
Yep. We have both IOC secret rares in here. Don't worry, guys. We're using the new effect. But this is really, really great. Your field often has a lot of cards, and you'll often be able to get a lot of cards in your hand. So this can be a game ender in the right circumstances. Just ditching all your cards, and then anything your opponent has in their hand or field, just a bonus. So good. Very easy to summon. You do run a good amount of lights and darks in here, and you do have a lot of graveyard milling. That's it for the monsters, guys. Crazy. I bet you I'm at like 18 minutes or something.
Yeah, 20 minutes.
20 minutes. All right, so the spells and traps are going to go a little bit faster, save for this one. The other 3 of I'm running in here is 3 copies of my all-time favorite field spell, Clear World.
This is my favorite secret rare in the deck.
Oh, this card is freaking phenomenal. Basically, you gain effects based on the attributes of monsters, and they're all bad effects, but your deck can kind of get around most of them. So first starting off with, if you can, basically like the types of monsters you control. So the dark effect is if you control 2 or more monsters, including a dark monster, that turn player cannot attack. Light, you must play with your hand revealed. Fire, you take 1,000 damage during the end phase. Water, you discard a card during the end phase. Earth, you pop a face-up defense position monster during the damage step that you control. And Wind, you must pay 500 life points to activate a spell card. You run a lot of dark and light monsters in the deck. You don't really care if your hand gets revealed because it's not like your opponent's going to do anything anyway with it. But crazy cool card, guys. Really amazing card. And it looks fantastic as secret rares. Next card, Shard of Greed. Pretty self-explanatory. Wait 2 turns, draw 2 cards. Great card. Pot of Desires. Only in here at 1. Because
Neg 9.
Neg 9, yep.
No, I'm just kidding. This is +1.
It's so true, but like the thing is, you don't even care what you banish because all of the Highlander stuff is just like, it's the same kind of cards. It's like Caveman Yu-Gi-Oh! It's things that I like, things that are, cool in their own ways. But just because you're missing, Cardi or Abyssal King Shark doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win or lose the game. So Pot of Desires is pretty much in this deck just a way. It's a +1, and it's one of the only situations where I can really say that there's no real card in here that's your win condition because everything works together to make it work, and that's what's so beautiful about this deck. Pot of Desires is in here at 1. Any more than that, I think, would be quite excessive and overpower the deck. Now, crazy draw card, Guarded Treasure.
Discard 5 cards to get MST'd.
Pretty much. But this is where Card Guard comes in, because you can use Card Guard's counter to protect Guarded Treasure from getting destroyed. Not a lot of people running Cosmic Cyclone anymore these days, because I don't think people really care about that card. It's a quote-unquote -1 for most folks. But Guarded Treasure, so you ditch 5 to draw 2, and then you draw 2 for every subsequent turns. So let's say that your opponent doesn't get rid of it. In 3 turns or so, you get pluses. Most of the time, they'll out it, but there are some times where you can just keep drawing. Do note that the draw 2 effect each draw phase is mandatory. So you have the chance to deck yourself out, and I have actually lost by decking myself out with Guarded Treasure. Still a really cool card.
It's a big oof.
And I've just wanted to play it for a very long time, and this deck is the perfect deck to play it in. Sword of Dark Rites. Tribute Summon card. Boosts the Dark Monster's attack power by 400. And then if that Dark Monster is tributed for a Tribute Summon, you can add Sword of Dark Rites back to your hand to activate it another time. Great together with the Dark Red Enchanter. Spell and Trap removal. Nice duofecta, Galaxy Cyclone and Cosmic Cyclone. Banish destruction and face down and face up destruction in graveyard. I don't think I need to explain these guys too heavily. And now moving on to the traps. 2 copies of the first Monarch. Basically, tributes count as 2 for the tribute summon of a dark monster. Discard a card to make it any other attribute, and it counts as 2 tributes for the tribute summon of a monster of that attribute. So amazing. Really great way to get out your big monsters and just get like stuff that you need to your grave or to wherever. Fantastic card.
It's also another one of those cards where people were probably pissed off when they pulled it as their secret rare in their Legacy of the Valiant box.
Like many of these, like Card Blocker and like Dark Red Enchanter, like many of these cards. Like there are some like really chase secret rares in here, but most of these people were pissed off at, and then when they when they're staring down the barrel of Abyssal King Shark, nobody's gonna be complaining at that point. 2 Ultimate Providence. Really, really great card for just basically, you ditch 1 card from the hand to the graveyard to negate a card of the same type that your opponent activates. Or it's, even if you activate it, I believe, you just ditch it. And since you run a lot of monster cards in here and some stuff you like in your graveyard, it's easy to ditch monsters from your hand to the graveyard to activate this effect. Now, on to your battle traps, the Mirror Forces. 1 Storming, 1 Drowning. It's a good enough number. Drowning is good in certain circumstances. Storming is only good in certain circumstances. 1 of each, I think, is perfect.
Have you considered running Blazing?
Yes, I did, but Blazing is just not as useful. It really, I had 2 Blazing in here, and it just was not pulling its weight. 1 Ring of Destruction, great because it doesn't need the battle phase to activate. Pops, deals a bunch of damage. And great early game to activate to get your opponent down further so that you can just OTK them with less. Next, we've got Dimensional Barrier. Shout out to Dark Magic Ian for helping me out with this. Really, really needed this card in the deck and is now perfect in here. There's a move back towards Synchro and XYZ type monsters. So this card, helps prevent, like, for instance, Time Thief Redoer from coming out on the field. And
this card can also prevent Ib the World Chalice Miko.
Oh, yes, it absolutely can. It's a cheap man's no material, I guess. Which is crazy to say, since that used to be an $80
budget,
card.
no material.
Yep. The only unlimited in this deck, Anti-Spell Fragrance.
Heresy.
But it's a PCY Prismatic Secret Rare, and I just had to include this card in here. This single-handedly stopped Sky Striker deck for my partner who's playing Endymion to try and, beat that deck. But very, very good card. Can't speak enough good about it. Just another one of those nice trap cards, including, like, for instance, Mistake, that floodgates like crazy and makes good benefits and bonuses.
Budget players love their floodgates.
Oh, yes, they do. Yes, they do. Now, that card that I was talking about, Pinpoint Guard.
Woo! This card's great.
Special summons back any monster, level 4 or lower, and makes it impervious. Really, really great for certain effects, especially that, either card guard or card blocker. Very, very strong card. Unfortunately, guys, it doesn't special summon it back at any point, so you can't chain it. It must activate during the battle phase, which makes it slightly worse, but when it resolves, it is very, very nice. Now, finally, the 3 cards that are finishing us off are the Golden Apples, Forceful Checkpoint, and Magic Cylinder. With the exception of Magic Cylinder, these 2 were the bane of people's pack openings, especially Golden Apples. If you pulled that, you were so pissed because there were so many. Like, this was a set that Max C originally came in, and imagine pulling this or Nordic Relic Brisingamen.
Oh God!
Freaking Max C, crazy. Golden Apples, I actually really, really like, and it's pulled its weight in this deck remarkably. When your opponent attacks into you directly, you activate this effect to gain back the life points that were inflicted and special summon a token equal to the life point damage. I actually ended up using this play on my opponent's Quasar to summon a 4,000 token and then beat down Quasar with that token. And then Shooting Star went down like shortly after that, but nobody plays Quasar anymore, but it's still crazy.
Quasar's like impossible to summon with Master Rule 4.
Oh yeah, it's true, but Needle Fiber was meant to make it easier, and now it's just...
Needle Fiber's like the bane of the LCG's existence.
Forceful Checkpoint, another terrible
fuck pulling this card. Holy shit.
But it's got a cool effect. It is also a battle trap with a negate attack effect, but you gain hand knowledge to look at your opponent's hand and can ditch any, like, at the very least, if this resolves, you gain hand knowledge and you get to ditch an opponent's monster card from their hand to the graveyard of your choosing. So pretty cool. And finally, Magic Cylinder, first ed, secret rare, very, very good card. You guys are.
You got Magic Cylinder. Your 11,000 tech Guilford got Magic Cylindered by a Billy deck.
Oh yes, it did. A lot of money went down the drain on that one. So that was a crazy thing. But Magic Cylinder, you know how good a card it is, and that is that. But guys, this is my complete secret rare deck. One of my all-time favorite decks, and one of the only decks that I've created from pure scratch. I can guarantee there's no other deck that exists exactly like this anywhere in the world. And I stand by this deck and its construction. But guys, if you enjoyed the video, please remember to rate, comment, subscribe to the Team Time Riders YouTube channel for more awesome content just like this. The channel growing The channel is growing because of you, and we're excited for where we're going in the future. If you like the video, again, rate, comment, and subscribe. And this has been the Mermail Master. Shout out to Dark Magic Ian for recording for this long. And this has been Team Time Riders. We're signing out. Catch you guys next time. Peace.